All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Film Hustlers. Film Hustlers coming to you from Toronto, Canada, and from Hollywood, California. With these,
Live from my hotel room in Canada.
hey, I wish you guys were here. It's kind of lonely without you. I'll be honest.
Man.
What a dick. Why don't you bring us out there then? Come on, hook it up.
Get up. Don't
You
be
know
a
what?
dick.
I do not have the clout to
Nice.
bring my crew out yet, but I think after this I might.
Yeah, Beautiful Darkness, the feature, will be shot in Canada, and we'll all be there. Possibly. Maybe.
That would be exciting. Well, maybe we shoot that one in California. Do it a bit better. Maybe in Palm Springs. That'd be nice.
Ooh, I like that. Little golf. Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to be in some nice weather. Like being in Toronto is great. And look, just for everyone listening and making your own movies and thinking about doing your own thing. I went to work to do this film at Netflix. Netflix said, "We know that the film's supposed to shoot in New York, but we'd like you to go to Toronto, where we have these pods and these people we like to work with, and we get tax credits and it's how we like to work, and sometimes you have to adapt to what these companies want you to do. It's they're big corporations that want you to do it a certain way so that they're comfortable, so that they know they're going to get the best quality. And it's funny is sometimes, in my case, they know way more than I do about this stuff, and it ends up working out quite nice.
There you go.
There you go. I like that. Okay. So you're going to go from the frigid air of Toronto to the muggy, musty
LA.
Midwest.
Oh, Midwest.
Right?
Well, I'm so glad you mentioned that. I think, we are working on the script for Stepping Into the Holiday 2,
Ooh.
Okay.
which is the sequel to the movie we made last year with Mario and you guys. So that's exciting. We're probably going to shoot it in summer, so you're right. It's going to be muggy. It's going to be 90 degrees, and we're going to have Mario and all the people and Jen and everybody
In jackets.
on and scarves.
Scarves. They're gonna be. We'll be in shorts and tank tops. They're gonna be. Lopez is gonna be hating it.
We're gonna bring extra gold bond for them nether regions.
Ooh, damn.
Hey, do you remember being in Tahoe when we did the film? We did it in June,
Yeah.
and that was hot.
Yeah. Oh no! When we were there last time, I asked one of the makeup artists because we were there. When we were there in March, right? Was it March, April, May?
June. Oh wait, for what movie?
April. When we were there for the first Steppin'. Was that? It was April, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was nice. It was kind of chill. Like it had weird days. Like there were some mornings that I got up with Lopez
Oh,
go
yeah,
to
it
the
was
gym.
freezing.
Like literally ice on the like in the water. Like little things. Anyways, long story short, I said, "What's the worst time here?"
The ice where?
When we were in Tennessee, we would walk. Remember, Lopez and I would walk to that little gym. Remember
Yes.
that? And there was like a little creek. You know what I mean? Like we had to walk by. And one morning, I remember it was like iced. It wasn't but I was like, oh shit, it was cold, dude. Like we'd go out there some days and we're like, fuck, we'd have to run.
Yeah.
Well, I had
Oh,
a
yeah,
bad hip,
yeah.
so I would hobble. But he would like take off. And so, but then sometimes it was okay. It wasn't that bad. But I asked one of the makeup artists there, I go, when's it bad? And they said, July, August. They said, you can't, it's so hot and nasty, like to do makeup and like, it's just muggy and hot. And here we
Ouch.
go in July
Ouch.
to do a Christmas movie.
Well, now we're going to be there in August, I think. But it'll be cool. Look, you gotta do it when you gotta do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it'll be fun. Let's talk about Beautiful Darkness, which is going through an interesting part of post right now. I think.
Yeah.
We've gotten to the point where it's nearly 90%, maybe 95% perfect, but we are getting some comments from people that are, big people, and also people that aren't involved in the film industry, and people that are. But at the end of the day, I think the comments are that they're not quite understanding, or we're not giving them a head start on the information of the film, right?
They're not connecting with the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
Although what I have gotten is yes, but then once it plays out, when they finish it, they understand it. They're like, oh, I get it. It just takes them a little bit of time. In fact, it's really the opening scene that's the problem. And what I've heard is that they forget about it by the time they get to the end of the movie.
Right.
Right. Also good. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
because they get so pulled into the story and everything comes out that they realize, so yeah.
But I'm definitely of the opinion that, and look, I know that when you do art films and you do things that are not super commercial, it shouldn't matter as much, because you're not going to please everybody all the time. That's the truth in film. You can't always, films and scripts don't always speak to everybody, right? Sometimes people have certain tastes, or they don't want to get it because they don't like the subject matter.
Right.
But I think Beautiful Darkness has a universal theme in there. I was telling someone about it the other day. Part of what I think attracted me to the script to the pitch and then the script is the idea that a kite bird.
A kite bird?
Yeah, a kite bird breeds a hawk.
Yeah.
The idea that an inferior species would create such a magnificent, offspring.
Yeah.
And it's weird because it may not be perfect, but I compared it to the idea that immigrants come here sometimes with nothing, with the shirt on their backs, and they have kids that are now American, and those American kids grow up to be something special.
Yeah.
And they are, they end up working in tire shops and being seamstresses and, working in restaurants, washing dishes their whole lives so that their kids could have a better life. And I found that I've connected to that in the movie. I thought that's what it meant to me, to the whole kite bird part.
Yeah. It breeds exceptional children.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you believe that?
Common parents breed exceptional children. Sometimes,
Yeah, not all the time, but I think the struggle of being poor and not having and wanting to have more ends up making that offspring from immigrants incredible members of society. And there's a lot going on in the film. I can't wait for people to see it because there's a lot of subtext like that.
Yeah.
But I also believe that when you're doing a 15-minute movie, and may not have thought about it before, but when you're doing a 15-minute movie, you really do need to give people like a head start. Give them a little bit of something in their bag so that they're like, oh, okay, right off the bat, you got information about what's happening, and then you could like sort of settle in and watch the whole thing. And by the way, we'll see, because I think we should test it with the opening that we're thinking of right now.
Yep.
Some of the ideas. And so you were saying Stearns had an idea or a suggestion?
Yeah, more of like a. He was saying how like I told him about the what we talked about, the phone call, and just getting that information, that quick, short, little bit of information that we need, the audience we feel will need to push them into the story. He said, okay, but you need a transition from going from that into the opening scene. And I was like, dude, are we doing an NBC TV show, like a crime drama, CSI? And he said, no, like, you just need something. So he did come up with like maybe pulling old pictures or of Emilio, like finding his own old, Emilio just posted that picture of him and his dad and his brother, and it was like an old school. So finding a cool transition that makes sense for the story, you know what I mean? And then go into the opening scene, like fade in on him. I don't know. I feel like I see where he's coming with that, because then we go in after the phone call, we go into Beautiful Darkness, the title, and then like my idea was we get the phone call, we get the title, we go into the movie. He was saying phone call, title, pictures, or some type of a transition to set up what the movie is, and then go into it.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you decide that that's a good idea, then it's possible that you open in the dark, in the black, with the voiceover of his mission, and then the suggestion that his dad might be on his last legs.
Yep.
You could cut down. I mean, this is a point of view thing that has to be done right. But assuming you do cut to a shot of him and his hands flipping through pictures, and then his close up on his face, and then the wide in the room, that could, it could end up insinuating that that's his dad, and that could end up giving you a little bit more leeway with your audience, and they may get it at that point, especially if you put a bit of Pepe's speech at the beginning, "I'm so proud of you," over the pictures.
Yeah.
And then cut into him. Those ideas are actually good ideas, but it does require us to shoot more. Dave's going to have to pull out his 6K camera and hope that we can match it up. But for an insert, I don't think it's that big a deal. But anyway, we'll talk about all that stuff. But I think as it refers to people, if you're making movies on your own and you're making movies at home, or you've decided to raise money like we did, you have to be flexible. You have to make the movie likable to a large number of people, and sometimes you have to make adjustments and shoot extra stuff and maybe recreate a portion of your movie that's different than what you scripted and shot, so that it could be more so that people can absorb your information more and maybe not question so much while they're watching your movie. So I mean, it's an interesting thing.
Because I've actually had people too, people in the business who've watched it and said they got it all. Like they were like, "This is perfect, everything." The temp music, they're like, "Dude, this is great." Like, I get it. I understood it from beginning to end. I had no questions at all. But then we get people who say, "Oh," and then we get people who say, "I'm complete loss."
That's how I felt. And here's the problem with this entire conversation. We may do this change and really
fuck it up.
We may end up explaining so much of it that someone that would have appreciated like less explanation because they like the deepness of the moments end up losing that, because now we're just going like, "Hey, that's my dad. Here's a picture of my dad, and now my dad hates me, and now this is why I'm upset for the rest of the picture." So there's definitely the possibility that we don't do it as creatively as you shot the whole movie, because it's an insert, right? You're doing it as a way to explain. But I think it's worth trying. Yeah. And I think if we could show it to a few people after that haven't seen it and get them to respond positively to the whole movie, then I think we will have solved the issue.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But we got to try stuff. That's the thing about film. If you hear it from more than one or two people that there's an issue with a certain part of the movie, then you have to deal with that certain part of the movie. It's part of it, But I do want to talk about ExtremeMusic.com, who, without Extreme Music, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. We probably wouldn't have made the movie.
True.
I talked to Russ about it, Dave and I, when we were at his house, Russ Emanuel, who is the founder of ExtremeMusic.com. And, he encouraged us and he supported us, and he's been with us for 4 seasons, and can't say enough good things about it. I want to tell you about their service, though. I'm working on a film here in Toronto. We just did our short, Beautiful Darkness, that we actually went to ExtremeMusic.com's site, picked all of the music. By the way, picked many different songs. Not everything that's in the movie is one thing, but we actually picked probably double the amount of songs and tried them in different areas. But I thought that everything that's in the movie sounds great.
Yeah.
Everything that was placed was extremely well placed. I was able to edit some of those songs so that they fit perfectly. And it all came from ExtremeMusic.com. It all came from their website. It all came from me inputting information that matched up to the emotions of what Tootie had written, what Tootie had directed, what Dave and I produced, what the actors delivered. And when that happens, you end up creating magic. But without ExtremeMusic.com, you don't get that opportunity to really search for a large library of music where you can really find things that make your movie better and better and better. And I really do think the music actually makes it better. It makes it feel like an epic film,
Yeah. We're going to have a problem here, though, Dave.
Uh-oh.
Because Roberts is almost becoming like a music soup, because his music is so freaking good that he puts in these movies.
Yeah.
And that, look, he's having a Canadian dry. He's on FaceTime right now. But I don't know what Hans going to say. He might not be able to correct you. Like, your shit's so good in this movie that Hans might be able to do it.
Hans Zimmer may not be able to do a better job. I agree.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to keep up, dude. One more film and he's out.
Let's give him a shot, though. We got to give him a shot, at least. right? What do you think?
Yeah, I think we should give him a shot. And by the way, I think I certainly think it could get better. But I did do my best, and I didn't randomly pick music.
You're almost Interstellar level, bro.
Yeah, you were. It was good, dude. I got to tell you, like,
no, it really is. It really is.
You know, really like the music in the beginning, that like almost like I don't want to say cathedral music, almost like what would you describe? Yeah, like religious, but almost like chanting, kind of, almost like when you're at church. You know what I mean? It was
pious,
good.
Yeah,
yeah, it got you in. It definitely like
it sets a tone for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And but that's what you do with Extreme Music. You look through all of their, you listen to all of their tracks, start to grab those tracks and put them in your movie and put them in scenes. And sometimes I'm surprised. Sometimes I'll pick a song and I'll think it's not quite right, and I'll put it in, and then I'll see it with the picture, and all of a sudden it comes to life in a way that I didn't expect. But thank you for saying that. I definitely think, like, as a collaborator, you know, you as a director and as a writer, David as a producer, even when I work with Stearns and with Mario, I think, you know, you got to trust the different strengths of people, you know.
Yeah,
I think that if you find that, you know, like Dave's great at certain things, you're great at certain things, I'm great at certain things, and I think you have to really trust them to do certain things, like music. You know, you do the music, or do a first pass at the music, and then let's talk about how to make it better, or if there's things to change, or you do color, or like, you know, when you pick Caravaggio for the type of look for the movie, you know, then you got to trust that these things are that, you know, that creatively you're doing the right thing, and that these people that you're working with are going to do the right thing. You know, when we hired and worked with Galvan, you know, as our DP, you got to trust him and know that that he's only going to do things to help. I think what I'm trying to say is collaboration is really important. Don't try to be everything.
No.
Don't try to control everybody. Give everyone their space. Give everyone their job to do, and let them do the best that they can do, and then trust that, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm really excited. We applied to 7 festivals. We applied to the USA Film Festival, Palm Springs International Film Festival, Cannes Indie Shorts Festival, LA Shorts International Film Festival, Flickr Rhode Island Film Festival. I'm not sure why I applied to that one, but I did. Santa Fe International Film Festival. But yeah, I applied to 7 of them, and they're all great ones. And
where's the USA one at?
The USA one is in Dallas, I think. It's in Texas.
Got it.
Okay. So we might be doing some traveling, boys.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when these festivals pick you, they invite your director and sometimes producers. It just depends how much money or how much they want the actors to come to. Because, you know, a lot of these festivals, they make their living off of good movies, but also getting a director and getting the actors that are known actors to come to their festival and participate.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing to them. So yeah, we'll if we get into some of these, they may invite you, they may fly you out, they may put you up.
Yeah.
And then they'll ask you to speak after the movie, and it'll be exciting. But, you know, look, I think part of the reason we do these movies is to make sure that, you know, you can do more stuff in the future. And I think doing Beautiful Darkness definitely is going to give you a great calling card, so that you can easily direct any TV show, any drama, any thriller TV show that you could think of. You could easily direct
jump right in,
based on that.
Yeah,
movie.
thank you. So what I've been doing, though, is I've been kicking around in my head the feature version or the series version of Beautiful Darkness, in the dynamics between his dad and Santoro. And I think I came up with something that's pretty cool, you know, that I think you guys would all really like. It's kind of a little Bronx Tale-ish, you know, with Santoro being like Palminteri's character, where he's the bad guy mentoring him. And his dad, I stole this from the, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the story about the Flores twins out of Chicago, those are the 2 guys who put El Chapo away. They became the biggest traffickers. But their dad, when they were little boys, he was a trafficker himself, and he would take them across the border. They would drive from Chicago to Texas, to Mexico, and he would get dope. And he had these cute 2 little boys. They were like his ploy, and he would cross dope with them in the car, and they were like, you know. So I thought about those 2 stories and merging them. But the dad, when the dad becomes a priest, he leaves the drug trade and becomes a priest, and that's why Mendoza becomes he gets really involved in God, but he's still in that world. That's why he's a disgrace. That's why he's not proud of him, right? Plus with what he does. There's like this dynamic, like almost like two dads pulling him in two different directions, and God being at the center of that. You know what I mean? What do you think about that, Roberts? Are you cutting this all out of the
Sounds good. It sounds good. I think I think you have a lot of opportunities with your characters. You know, you can go a lot of different ways, but that's a really great backstory. Yeah.
Great. All right, let's start writing that tomorrow.
No, you're talking about a series, right?
I'm talking about a series or even a feature or something bigger, something. I just want to be prepared, because you told me something the other day. Like, be prepared to stay in this wheelhouse, because this is where I'm at now, and have ideas of what's next or what you're working on. And with Beautiful Darkness, it's a short. I want to be able to say, I don't want to be stumped when somebody asks me, like, oh, so where do you see this going, or what do you, and not be like, well, I don't know yet. I want to have something. It doesn't have to be written yet. I just want to have something in my mind, like what I just told you guys, that I could tell somebody who's interested in either financing or, taking it to a place that could have it made. You know what I mean? So I want to be prepared. And you fools too, be prepared, because you guys are producing it. So I think
you're right. You're absolutely right. I think this is great for people to hear. By the way, pull out your pencils and paper, or just rewind the podcast. But no, this is really important. So let's say you make your movie, you raise your money, you do your short, whatever it is, and it's terrific. You've made this great comedy, or you've made this great drama, or you've made this great thriller, or whatever, a horror film, whatever you made, and it's great, and people are talking about it, and you're getting into festivals, and all of a sudden you win a festival, or it gets bought by a distribution company, and you're starting to get calls from agents and from managers, and then you got meetings at studios, and you got meetings at production companies. Here's what's going to happen, is that if you've made a movie that's getting some noise and people are talking about you, and you get an interview with a production company or a studio or an agent or a manager, and they watched your movie and that's why you're getting the meeting, I'm going to tell you right now, if you walk in there and you did a horror film and you say, I want to do a comedy and it's about this slapstick sort of crazy thing, they're going to be disappointed, because they saw your movie. They want you to come in and give them more of that, right? Because if they loved what you did, they want to hear more of that from you. They don't want to hear you go, I want to do this romance like, Notebook, when you just did a horror film or a thriller. Like, that's not how it works, right? If you're a director or a writer and you're getting accolades for what you did, you could just stay in that genre and then do something as good so that other people can say, like, you know what? Your movie was great. I loved it. I think you're wonderful. What do you have coming next? Oh, well, I have something in the same vein, same area. So Scorsese stayed in his wheelhouse, right? For a long time, he made gangster movies. Yeah. Right? And I think you just have to be smart, because if they called you in for a meeting because of some piece of work you did, you've got to go in with the same type of ideas. And then if they say, like, hey, do you ever want to do anything other than that, then you think about it. You say, like, let me think about it. I'll come back to you. Yeah. Because it's a big move, dude.
Well, Scorsese actually did do that, because his first movie was Mean Streets, which was crime drama, right? It wasn't so much mob, but it was New York, crime, underground. And then he did Taxi Driver, which was loner, but still kind of in the same world, right? He's in the wheelhouse.
Still drama, crime
drama. And then, I don't know what he did after that, but then he did The King of Comedy, which was a comedy with Robert De Niro. But that he was already established. He already made a name for himself. He already had a career, and he decided to venture out and try something a little different, But then he went back. He went back to doing what he was good at, and now he does everything from fucking Hugo to, he mixes it up. But really, his forte is crime drama. That's where he lives. So you want to kind of stay there. And it's funny, because I'll never forget, I was with Lopez one time and went to Tyler Perry's house. We went to dinner, and dude, his house was amazing. It's like a hotel, and it was just us three in there. And we were drinking. Hey, we went to dinner, and we were drinking, hanging out. And I asked him, I said, you ever going to do like because he was doing Medea stuff. Right. I said, do you ever do anything in, any other space, crime, mafia, anything like that? He's like, no. And I was like, why? You know, and this is years ago. He said, because this is what I'm known for. This is what I do, not yet at least.
Right.
And, that happens to a lot of people. Once you make it.
But he did switch it up, though.
He did, but you got to do it later on.
Right.
Once you've already kind of established yourself, you're able to then venture out and do other things.
Mm-hmm.
But see how great that is? That's exactly correct. Like once you find your wheelhouse, you win some awards or you get some accolades, stay in your lane for a second, continue to develop the things that made you successful with the film that got you all the accolades. And then if you continue to be successful, then you can always switch it up a bit, but you can't switch it up right away. You can't be someone, I think you have to look at obviously in hindsight, you can look at people like Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez. They always stayed in their lane,
Yeah.
They're always doing, and it's not that they stayed in the lane, it's that they're very, very good about telling stories that have effects in them for Robert, that are Latino for Robert. He loves that. He stays in that area because he's creative there and it feels good to him, and not because he's doing it for business, but half and half, right? It's something that he speaks to him and it's good business. And Tarantino, same thing. His mind takes him to the areas like Pulp Fiction, all the Reservoir Dogs, all those crazy movies that he does all have that same sort of cadence, his great dialogue. So yeah, I think you have to think about what you're doing and prepare yourself for success. I mean, that's the hardest part, is that I think you always have to trust that you're going to be successful, and that if you stick with it, you're going to succeed in this business. And when you do succeed, then what? Right? We don't think that far ahead. Think about when you start getting those meetings, think about what they want to hear. A lot of times I think to myself, when I go in for a meeting or a pitch, an executive wants to hear way better than they could ever think of themselves, right? So if you go into a room with an executive and you pitch them an idea, you have to leave that meeting and that executive has to say, that was one of the coolest pitches I've ever heard, and it got told to me so well that I can go tell my boss what it was. So then that executive goes out of her office or his office and goes to their boss and says, like, I just met with Rod Rinks and he pitched me this story about this guy who kills these people, who his dad is dying, and in the end it affects him so much that he can't do his job effectively and he ends up losing his life because of it. And then you're like, holy crap, like that person told my story as good as I told my story, and she sold it or he sold it.
Yeah.
So it's very important that you have a solid pitch and that you stay in your wheelhouse, and that you always know that whatever person you're meeting with are looking for brand new, exciting ideas from you. So give them the best you got and you will succeed.
Yeah. Amen.
That's what's up.
I'm a little preachy today, I think.
No, it's good info.
No, it's good.
This is great.
Well, I mean, it's part of our biz, you got to be ready for them to see something you worked on and then call you in and see what else in this area you have, because think about how easy it is to pitch. If you come in with Beautiful Darkness and I see it and I'm an executive and I call you in and I tell my boss, hey, I'm meeting with Rod Rinks today. Who's Rod Rinks? Oh, he did Beautiful Darkness. It's getting all these accolades. What's it about? Oh, it's this drama kind of, it's this about this hitman and he dies in the end because whatever the story is, right? Yeah. And then the boss goes, wow, that sounds amazing. And then she goes and meets with you, or he goes and meets with you, and then they come back to talk to the boss and goes like, what else he got? Oh, he had this comedy. Wait, he had but I thought he did like this drama. Yeah, he did this drama, but he wants to do this comedy. I was like, oh, okay.
And he also has a Western. He's got a Western, a comedy. Like, he's all over the place. Horror.
Yeah, he's trying to do Pee Wee Herman movie he's got. Yeah, it's hard to put your finger on, because there are artists that just say, like, I'm an artist, I want to do whatever I want. It's an important thing to remember in this business, So I'm going to leave you guys with that thought. Keep trying to raise money, keep trying to do your projects, trust yourself, and you will succeed. So the next show we'll try to have a guest on, but yeah, it's awesome. I think everything's moving forward with our movie. I'm doing a film in Toronto. We're going to be doing some more stuff with the Hustlers. I think we need to start planning what our next move is after Beautiful Darkness wins a couple of festivals. Stay positive and keep doing your thing, and we'll see you next time on Film Hustlers.
Yes, sir.
That's right. Never be stopped, Roberts. Keep going.
Don't get stopped.
Even in the snow.
You got to have chains then. You can stop. You'll just slide around
Don't get stopped by cops.
as you're drinking your bourbon.